Okay, we're
We are
live.
on air. We are on air. Hello,
Exactly. All right, this
everybody.
is tense. Perfect. Well, today we'll be talking about procrastinating, and it looks like the internet was procrastinating a little bit in order to go live. Now we're live, so let's talk about it. Thomas, you had just mentioned before we started recording that you're not procrastinating on going to Japan and China, for example, but you don't have the money. And that's kind of related to one of the questions that I had about procrastination in general. For example, if you know you have something to do within a week, let's say, or any given time, but you're too busy, and maybe you forget, maybe you don't do it, is that considered procrastination? And that's very similar to your situation. You can't because of something else, but you do it at the last minute, whatever you have to do. So what do we think about that? Is it procrastination if you forget about it? Or if you don't do it? Am I
I
explaining
let Ken.
myself?
I let Ken and Ismail answer first.
So you said just forgetting whether it is a
Yeah, let's say
procrastination or
you
not.
know you have to do something, but you're just really busy with something, or you're just busy in life or work or something, and so you don't do what you need to do until last minute. Is that considered procrastination?
I don't think so because maybe the person just prioritize what he or she do for the work or something.
Prioritize. That's a good word. I can write down my question. Yes. Okay, so prioritizing. So what do we think about that then? I mean, is it technically procrastination? Ken?
Yeah, maybe technically procrastination the work, but maybe sometimes it happens if the person uh, how can I say, to organize work, people prioritize the things they are doing. But sometimes when we are very busy, it just happens with mess. So yeah, I don't know
So
which.
procrastination. Okay. I don't think there's really like a true answer, like a yes or no. I think it depends on the situation. But Ishmael, do you understand the question?
Yes, yes.
Do you have an opinion?
Uh, after 1 or 2 minutes later, okay? I think. I'm thinking now, okay?
Okay, you're thinking. Well, Thomas just typed a long thing here. It is the practice of doing more pleasurable things in place of less pleasurable ones, or carrying out less urgent tasks instead of more urgent ones, thus putting off impending tasks to, to a later time. Sometimes procrastination takes place until the last minute before a deadline.
I just thought we should define it first, because in order to answer your question, I thought it was quite
Yeah.
important to actually. Well, what does it actually mean? So your question is if you're busy or you've got, you're doing many different things, then it depends really on what these things are and how they impact your life. So, for example, one of my things I don't procrastinate anymore, but used to, is invoices. I hate writing invoices. Okay, it's a tedious task, but it has to be done. So I always used to leave it, and of course that means if you write an invoice late, it also means you get the money late. So it has an effect. So it depends on importance. For example, let's say you have a high blood pressure, but you don't go to the doctor. You put off going to the doctors for ages and ages and don't get any treatment for it. Then of course it can have consequences. I'm trying to remember at work. Writing reports. I like Ishmael. I used to work. I used to like the clinical stuff, but we also had to write long reports to people like Ismail, to the doctor. And I always used to leave that for a long time. And of course, then, the problem was when patients then went to the doctors and they didn't have the reports, they got pissed off with me because they needed to know what was happening with the patient. So they were, I mean, I got much better in sort of my last 5 years of working in sort of clinical psychiatry. But so I mean, procrastination is really, I think, when it damages you somehow.
When it has a negative effect.
Yeah. Long term,
Yeah.
possibly a negative effect,
Well, it depends. I mean, for example, if I'm procrastinating about sending you my schedule, then it makes it more difficult for you because maybe you don't have time, things like that. So there is a chain of events that happens in any given time with procrastination. Interesting. And I actually just yes, Ismail, did you want to say something?
Yes. Thank you, Thomas, because Thomas understand me. I am a doctor. He know how I am working. Procrastinating is not good for me. Yeah, I want to make anything very quickly. If someone don't do like me, I hate. I say quickly, please make, please. I have no time. I will say every time, but it depends on it's how what he or she doing. For example, if he or she is a doctor, it's important job. I know somebody need to know what she or he doing. It depends job. It
I'm going to be
depends.
back in just a second.
It depends time. Job is important, but in my opinion, if if someone have a job, have to make something, it will happen very quickly. In my opinion, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Sometimes my patient coming in my office quickly, doctor. I am not, I don't have time. I said suddenly and angry, go out in my office because I am check this patient. I have time. Wait, please, out in my office. Every time I say, it depends on job, depends on time. It's important. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Absolutely. You're
Yes.
welcome. Thank you for expressing your opinion.
Thank you.
Good. No, but I definitely agree. I think, I mean, for example, my schedule with Thomas, I know I need to tell him, and I have it planned for the entire month, but I haven't done it yet because there have been kind of more important things to do. However, when necessary, I sent the information. And just like with, being a doctor, your health is very important and the health of others is also very important. And so you can only do so much. There's only 24 hours in a day. And not just that, you also need time to sleep. And you also need time to enjoy life and do things. Other than there's eating, and then, you have to go to the bathroom and you have to shower and, put on your shoes. And you have many things to do in a relatively short amount of time. And so when you need to do things immediately, and then you have to wait and put things off is to do it later, basically. That's just what happens. There's some moments in the day that I'm just, I have 10 text messages. I have to do my schedule. I have to do this. I have this class. I have to prepare this. Then I have dinner. And so there's like thousands of things to do in one exact moment. And then other times there's like 3 hours and okay, now what? So, Murphy's Law is like everything happens at the same time. So that is where procrastination comes from, in my opinion, is what Ken said, you have to prioritize. Do the most important things first, then you can do everything else in order. Good. Any comments?
Yeah. Also,
want-
sorry, go. Sorry. I also, as Thomas mentions, the preference also influence to the procrastination. Yeah. I I think so. Yes. Or kind of messy busy situation also our preference influence to the how the things creation. Sorry, it's not a word, but yeah. Anyway.
we need to practice the pronunciation of procrastination.
Procrastination.
Like pronunciation classes.
Procrastination.
Good. Thomas, you had a comment from before?
Well, what might also be interesting in terms of procrastination is the feeling part of it, because often I think people procrastinate because they dread doing something. They don't like doing a particular task, whatever that is, whether that's housework or, whether that's with me, the invoices. That was just a phone call, by the way, telling me that I've done an invoice wrong. One of the reasons I hate them.
At least you can procrastinate.
Yeah, the guys had Dutch lessons and I put English lessons, so they weren't too happy. But yeah, I think we're dreading certain things, but the feeling part is interesting, isn't it? Because isn't it always such a relief when you've done the task you really do not like doing? Like some people don't like doing tax. So
no, that's true.
So I think if we stop putting off things, if you stop procrastinating, on the whole, the people probably that don't procrastinate are probably happier people.
That's actually good. I hadn't thought of it. And this is because of your background, Thomas. This is why you're thinking of it like that. So that's great. But you're absolutely right. I mean, I've always looked at some things like you have no other option, you have to do it. So that kind of makes it like a little bit easier, I suppose. Even if you don't want to do something, you have to. I can't say I'm not a very big procrastinator, to tell you the truth. I mean, Thomas, I have my schedule always prepared well in advance.
That's true.
I'm a preparer. I like to have everything planned, ready to go, so I know what's going on, that kind of thing. So in my world, I'm not a procrastinator. Living in southern Spain, maybe I've become a little bit of a procrastinator. Oh, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it later.
Mañana.
Exactly. Más tarde, no pasa nada. Don't worry. I can do it later. But then I went through a period of that. I think that was like a good 2 or 3 years. And then after that, I started kind of going back to my American ways of I need to do it now, because if I don't, it will suffer later. So so I did have that experience of being a procrastinator, and I don't think I like it, because then you have more pressure, like Thomas was saying. So, but then once you finish it, it's like you feel relieved, you feel happy, you feel better. So I think maybe emotionally, what's that word? Emotionally unstable? Maybe, this is just our conversation, but I think you definitely have something going there about the emotions, Thomas. So that's interesting. Have you seen anything because you were working in the clinic and everything, do you have any experience with procrastinators? Was that a common thing, or they're not really talked about?
I think people, for example, who are depressed, clinically depressed, often procrastinate, and the problem is they then becomes the depression becomes a sort of almost self-fulfilling prophecy, because they don't do certain things which they take as evidence that life is terrible, and the world is a terrible place, and they may stop, for example, paying bills, and then their electricity gets cut off, or their gas gets cut off, or they might have financial problems, and instead of going to the bank and trying to talk to the people, and sort of try and sort out and come to an arrangement. They don't. So what happens is the bank account gets stopped. They have no money. And they're literally, I've had cases where it got to the point where they just literally couldn't eat because that wasn't, that they could have organized it in such a way that life would have gone on, maybe, you know, still difficult, but because they procrastinated, because of their illness, because they were depressed, they just didn't do the kind of things that most of us take for granted. So yes, it does have a, in terms of mental health problems, it does affect mental health quite a lot. It's which comes first, the chicken or the egg, is I suppose, you know, it's one of those questions. But usually, I think people become depressed, then they become excessive procrastinators, and that reinforces, unfortunately, the depression, and it's
Lan
a
gelsene
vicious
ben seni
cycle.
çağırdım.
So yes,
So-
it does. It does affect it.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Thomas? So it happens because of their brain malfunction? When
It's
they
not,
are clinically depressed, their
I
brain
don't.
change.
We're having a feedback from somebody.
So
I
that
just muted Ismail. I think.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, basically, it's not a simple answer,
okay.
and it certainly is a session for itself in terms of what is depression. I mean, the genuine sort of biological theory is that it's a depletion of serotonin, which is basically, if you like, the happy cells, and once they get depleted, or when you don't have enough of that, you often need medication to stimulate them and to bring them back up to speed. So, but I think there is a lot to it, you know, and I, for example, studied cognitive therapy. So cognitive therapy believes, or the theory of cognitive therapies believes, that you become depressed because of the way you interpret the world. So on a very, very simplistic level, if you interpret the world as always negative, and, you know, people being nasty to you, or people being horrible to you, and then you're more likely to get depressed, you know. Or if you generalize and say everything is bad, and, you know, because, you know, if you when you actually pick things to bits, like, for example, if you look at a day, no day is ever perfect and no day is ever bad. There's lots of gray areas, you know, they're boring areas where you might just watch TV. Well, I get bored by TV, but there's, you know, so nothing is really black and white. It's very sort of what people call black and white thinking. It mustn't be mistaken with positive thinking, because positive thinking, sort of particularly the sort of stuff that Trump does, is also not necessarily good, because the world isn't always positive. It's how you deal with horrible events or things that don't quite go your way. That is the important thing in cognitive theory. So there are many different, and there's hundreds, literally, you know, we could go into Freud, we could go into Jung, and there's so many different theories. But the biological theory is certainly that that you don't have enough serotonin in your brain, and therefore you feel unhappy.
I see. Okay, thank you very much.
Good. Well, that's definitely a different part of this conversation that I was thinking it was going. I'm thinking procrastination in general. I mean, for example, Thomas, let's be honest. Germans are known for their stereotype is that you work a lot and that you're very strict and you're very serious. Obviously, you don't follow some of those. The serious one not working. But my question is do you think there's less procrastination, for example, in Germany than in other countries such as Spain, for example? Because there's procrastination here. I'm not going to lie.
It's I can't tell you the exact statistics anymore, but there are some interesting statistics out, and this is more to do with with actually productivity. Germans tend to be more productive. Now, what that means is probably you're right. They do procrastinate a wee bit less than maybe English people or Spanish people. But what it actually means is they work less. So they work less hours because they're, in the hours they work, they can get done much more than maybe some other. You mustn't forget though, in Spain it's hot. There are other factors that influence it as well. So it's not as simple. But yeah, Germans are incredibly productive, but actually work less hours. So they have more time for their family. They have more time. They tend to start early. Most jobs start at 8, and most jobs in the UK start at 9, for example. And they also finish early. So it's not as sorry.
No, I think it's actually a really good point because here, for example, we're coming into the summer months. Now at like 3:30, 4 o'clock, 4:30, 5 o'clock, it is hot. It's hot. And you don't want to be outside. It's like turning on a heater and just standing in front of it, and it's terribly hot here. And I don't even live on the coast. And so being so hot, what they've done is they've broken the day in two. You have your morning, then you go home for lunch, you have your siesta, your nap time, or relax downtime, and then you're basically preparing yourself for the afternoon work. And so people normally work, I would say at shops, it's 10 to 2, or 9, no, 10, it's 10, what am I saying? 10 to 2, and then normally in the winter hours, 4 to 8. In summer hours, it might be 5:30 to 8:30 or 9, for example. So it definitely changes. It's bright outside until 10 o'clock at night sometimes. 9:30, 10 is when it starts to get dark in the summer. So the days definitely change compared to winter and summer. And so I definitely understand that there's this, Spanish people are lazy. It's so hot. You can't do anything and you don't want to do anything. So that's the difference. And a lot of houses like mine don't have air conditioning. And so you're in the heat all day. So I'll agree with that. I'd like Ken's opinion and then Ishmael's opinion as well about that, going with the different countries, because we're all in different countries. So Ken, what do you think about procrastination? I can't imagine Japanese people are very procrastinators.
Yeah, but Japanese people tend to think work hard, but actually it's not rationalized like German people. It's not organized like working style here, because people believe just staying the long hours in the company means working. But nobody can consider such long hour working. So during working, they sometimes, just chatting or just drinking teas or that's all. In the past, without smartphone time, it was very common. Businessmen just stay in the tea lounge for rest or sleeping. So now I don't know. I think it's a bad habit here. Because, in the past, I've heard in 100 years ago, summertime in Tokyo, they just work 3 or 4 hours in a day, and then they're chatting. But in some point, we lost such kind of laid-back culture. So now people have to stay in the workplace very long hours. Also, sometimes without paying. Overtime job, company paid some amount of money, and after that they won't pay. Or even though it paid, it cannot concentrate on their family, family works or such things. A big problem actually here.
Okay. Interesting. Definitely didn't expect that. So thank you. And in some parts of Japan, it gets really hot. Do you think that affects the working hours or productivity or anything?
So
Procrastination?
Southern Island, Okinawa is a tropical zone. It is hot there, so their lifestyle is more laid back than kind of main Japanese style. Yes, definitely.
Okay.
in such circumstances, people cannot work so long hours. It's sometimes dangerous actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, here we actually, not in my business, but in some, there's one person, like for the IT people, the information technology, whatever, programmers, etc. They actually have their summer hours now, and so instead of working into parts, 2 shifts during the day, they work, let's say, 9 to 3 or 4, for example. So they work a couple extra hours, but all together, then they go home and they're done. So that actually would be really nice too, to have that change. Yeah, I mean, the weather changes everything here in Spain. So good. All right, Ismael, it's your turn. What in Turkey, right? You're in Turkey.
Sorry. I have patient. Ask me. Sorry.
Procrastination in your country.
Yes, it's a very general problem. This problem is very hard for people, for Turkish people. Sorry, I cannot pronunciation it word. Sorry. Yes,
It's not easy. It's not easy.
Yes, it's not easy. It's new for me, but for Turkish people is very have like this problem. It's very important because my country, undeveloping country, it's it is not good for Turkish people, and general problem. This problem is general problem. It's very important. Everybody is sometimes official people say, "Go, come tomorrow. Go, come tomorrow." I don't have time. It's not time. Like this depends on situation. If official people sit important area. Sorry, wait a minute. Kusura bakmayın, biraz bekleyin. Yok, oturabilirsiniz, biraz bekleyin. Sorry, I will explain my situation, my patient. I mean, it's very important in Turkey. Not only Turkey, like Turkey's country, for example, undeveloped country, Syria, Iraq, and like this country, this problem is very important. Okay, thank you very much, Rebecca.
Thanks.
Yeah. It's
Well,
explain. It's good.
yeah. You did fantastic.
You understand me. Thank you very much.
We do understand. So get to work with your patient. You're procrastinating.
Yes. You understand me. I listen you. I make my patient's job. Okay, I listen you.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
Thank you.
So good. So I thought it was interesting just to hear a little bit about, different countries and things. United States, as far as procrastination, you have everything. It's such a big country. I don't think you can stereotype any specific thing. So good. Thomas, any comments after hearing all of this?
Well, it's interesting how different country perceive themselves as well, not just maybe there's of course always an element of reality. I mean, one of the things I was thinking when you were talking about Spain and the siesta, one of the problems that would cause the siesta is if you have a factory, you can't just stop processes, they have to go on. So that would be a big problem to shut down the whole factory for 2 or 3 hours in the afternoon, in noontime or whatever. So that would certainly reduce productivity.
And I do want to mention that here in the South, it's more agriculture, so food, fruits, vegetables, stuff like that. In Madrid and Barcelona, that's where all of the industry is. That's where the factories are. And there they have different timetables. There are different schedules there. So that's what I wanted to say.
Mm-hmm. But it is, I suppose, a question to everybody. I mean, which sort of things do you procrastinate about? And
Cleaning.
yep, shopping. I hate shopping.
I don't mind. Well, it's you have food or you don't have food, so that's how I look at that.
I hate too.
You hate shopping?
You see, today's a really good example. Okay, before the lesson, I could have. Oh my God, it's pissing it down. Sorry.
Raining a lot. Not...
Yeah, it's really. But before the lesson, I could have gone out to do the food shopping. Okay, I had the time. It was sunny, cold but sunny and windy, and now it's absolutely hailing it down. So I haven't done it, so I'm going to have to do it after this lesson. So
and
yeah,
now
for
it's
me,
worse outside.
yeah, now I'm going to get soaked as well. But yes, so the one thing I do put off is shopping, probably more than both shopping and cleaning.
I have to say cleaning because every Friday we go to the grocery store because here in the South, also in the smaller towns, not obviously in Madrid or Barcelona, the grocery stores and supermarkets close on Sundays. And so we would always get to Sunday and be like, what do we have to eat? And so now instead of going like on a Monday or Tuesday, we go on Friday because I normally have less work in the afternoons. And so we go shopping on Friday afternoon. So we have food over the weekend. And so what I do during the week is write down my list of things so I don't procrastinate, be like, what do I need? And so I remember everything. So I plan during the week and then we shop on Friday. And then we have food basically for the whole week. So we're good. Welcome to organization. I need to do a class on organization skills or something.
Well, I mean, that's what, rightly or wrongly, but obviously that's what companies look at, isn't it? It's kind of, productivity, really. I mean, it's not the only thing a company looks at, but luckily in teaching English, you will never have to really worry about them, will you?
Well, I've procrastinated and not corrected some homework that I should have, like, oh, well, I'll wait till tomorrow, or did it in class, or, while they're doing some other activity, listening activity, I'll go ahead and start correcting things. I hated correcting. And to me, it's difficult because I speak Spanish and I speak English. And when I see something in English, but it's basically written in Spanish, as I say, it's hard for me to kind of translate it back into English. So that to me is frustrating and time consuming. And so that's why I don't like to translate things. And so that is something that I'd always wait on, or I'd wait until I wasn't tired or I was in like a good moment and I was like, okay, I'm ready, I'm prepared. I'm ready to think. Because it's a lot of thinking, a lot of, well, how would I say it? Do I say it like this? How can I change this? So there's verb tenses, etc. So grammar. There's a lot of things to take into consideration when translating. So that's one thing I didn't like to do, is to correct things. Now, to correct tests, if I had the answers, that's fantastic. I was beep, 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 done. So that's what I like about correcting tests. But as far as writing activities, that's a little bit more difficult. So
yeah.
Perfect. Ken, so are you a procrastinator or not?
I am a procrastinator. So, I agree with what Thomas said. Maybe what people can do that maybe not procrastinate things can be happier. Yeah, procrastination causes us mere stress. Also,
change your lifestyle.
Also, if I procrastinate something and after I did that thing, after that I feel really great. So I don't know whether I love procrastinating or not. Maybe I don't like it, but I just do it. That's maybe bad habit of mine. Yeah.
But I think that happens. Just like Thomas in the shopping, he didn't feel like doing it, so he didn't, and now he might have some bad consequences because of that. So.
Yeah.
We'll see what the weather does in Germany. And Ismail, are you a procrastinator?
No, I am not. I am very hurry every time. I'm making quickly my everything. I know, and everybody know me like this. Um,
Perfect.
if I have a job, I make every very quickly. Yeah.
Perfect. Very dependable.
Yes.
Responsible.
I hate it. I hate. Yeah.
Yeah, procrastination is difficult.
Yeah.
You know, when you see someone say, "Why don't you just do it? It's not that big of a deal. It's not difficult." And no, because I don't want to. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I think as we get older, it gets easier, or not. As I'm the youngest one here today. Yes.
I think it gets easier up to a certain age, and then it starts getting a little bit more difficult again. I think when you get to the 60s, 70s, I think you also have a lot more time. I think for those people, it can be quite difficult to get motivated again. So yeah, it just depends. Yeah.
No, I think you're right because you get. Oh, there's two Ismails.
We have you twice, Ismail.
I think it depends because
Sorry.
once you get to a
I
certain
listen.
age, you get everything, you know, you wake up at this time, you do this at this time, and you know, have certain order to your day, and you get used to that. And then so when you have something else to do that you're not really used that it's not normal for you to do, of course, then procrastination could be a factor there. It's really funny
Yeah.
that there's two pictures and one's frozen of Ismail. He looks very pensive in one.
Picture
Sorry.
disappears. Yeah, it happened to me sometimes. Yes.
He's definitely thinking.
I mean, I have to say, one of the things at work when I was in London working, one of the things that I did find quite irritating was people who, you know, they start the day with a cup of tea, then they talk about, you know, a TV program or, you know, what happened over the weekend or whatever, and then, you know, they finally go to the computer to look up some patients' records. And then, of course, before they go, we used to work in the community, so it was about going out. So before they went out, they have another cup of tea. And it's like, you know, we started at 8, and some people, I swear, did not start till actually working till about 9:30. And you kind of think, what did you do now? And I mean, I will have already seen 2 patients by that time, you know, and they were still playing. And then, you know, and the problem with that always was that, you know, as long as they did their work, that was okay. But sometimes we had emergencies. So because I was always the one that, of course, was finished and had the time, I always used to get them, you know, not always, but I wasn't the only one who was fairly efficient. But some people definitely took the piss, and it's like, oh, I can't see the patient because I've still got so and so and so to see. It's like, yeah, that's because you bloody drank coffee for 3 hours. So it can have an effect. Procrastination can actually have an effect on other people as well, you know. I mean, that's an important part, I think. You know, it can be quite cruel to other people, actually, when you procrastinate and not get on with, you know, things that might be important for another person. And they get really pissed off then. I mean, you know.
I definitely agree with that.
I think parents sometimes get really pissed off when, you know, when their children sit in front of the computer and, you know, play computer games all day, but don't actually do the things that parents believe will help them, which is, you know, to go to school, do their homework, you know, work hard because they probably worked hard. So I think we are actually breeding a generation of procrastinators.
We're already seeing it. I mean, it's already obvious. And I mean, here in Spain, definitely, you know, you see, they're called ninis, that they don't work and they don't, well, it's because of in Spanish how they have it. But it's because they don't work and they don't go to school. And so they just glide through life, nothing's wrong, everything's fine. One point, what, are you going to live at your mom's house forever? Like, you have to move out, you have to do things. And As far as the kids, I think the worst thing about procrastinating with kids is in the morning. When you know, like, there's blah, 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 you have to do like so many things. You have to get dressed, eat breakfast, blah, 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 and leave to go to school on time. Everyone's probably late for everything. All of us probably enjoy sleep. I sleep until the last minute because I have class at 8 o'clock. So, I have to get up early anyway. And so if I can get 5 more minutes of sleep, that's good. So, we always kind of wake up last minute because you always go to bed late because of this and that. And kids in the morning, I'm like, okay, I'll get dressed. And it takes like 20 minutes for the kid to get dressed. Like, your clothes are ready for you. Just put them on, And I think there's that between adults and children. Children don't understand what we understand. But I think that's the worst part. That's terrible. It's gotta be terrible. So, or eat your food. I don't want to, or they're just like eating very slowly and eating really slowly, and just eat. Come on,
Come on, eat your little bugger.
Open your mouth. So that as a parent has to be one of the frustrating things too, is the kids procrastinating, but they just don't understand in general, I think. So, Jed, any other comments? Ken, you said you kind of agreed with, you said right. When Thomas was talking earlier, did you want to comment on anything?
Yeah, in terms of emergency situation, in working, or it could be fatal. So, yeah, so sometimes procrastinating is cruel for others in terms of the very serious issue. Yeah, but actually people do that. Also, it's also that get rid of other people's motivation too, because if you cannot get the result of that, your motivation get lower. So it's really bad actually in terms of very serious things.
Absolutely. Good. Ishmael, any final comments about procrastination?
Yes, it's common, I think.
It's common. Okay, good. Thomas, any final comments about procrastination?
No, I think we've procrastinated quite enough.
We did pretty good today, didn't we?
I've completely successfully managed to avoid to go shopping so far, so I'm very pleased.
Well, you have food or don't have food. That's exactly what I was saying. I don't mind going shopping. Honestly, from my house to the grocery store, it probably takes 5 minutes to walk there. I can buy everything and be out in 30 minutes because I know exactly what I need to get, exactly where it is, and then I'm home. Done, finished. So
Okay. Yeah.
That's how you gotta look at it.
Just one. This is we can maybe finish the lesson so that just a couple of words afterwards.
Perfect. Well, I'll go ahead and stop this. And so everyone have a great day. Thanks for watching. We do have a viewer, so hello to whoever you are. Thanks for watching, and make sure you check out the other classes that we've done. So I'm going to stop broadcast for now.